Hello everyone, I greet in the name of God Almighty. My name is Apostle Silas, and today we have a very interesting video to react to. And this one was done by Kyla Amina Bagajati and also Christine. Okay, and then they'll be discussing Islamophobia. Okay, and this video have both first segment and then also second segment. So we're going to learn a lot in lesson when it comes to Islam and how people perceive Muslim all over the world. So if today happens to be the first time of you checking out my channel, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and follow me on my Facebook and Instagram. And if you have any video you want me to react to, don't forget to drop it at the comment section and I'm going to check it out. So guys, before we get on to the video, I'm a theologian and I make this video not to discredit anyone's religion. This is basically for educational purposes, and I believe that at the end of this video we all are going to learn from this. So guys, without any further ado, let's get on to this video and check this out.
Hello and welcome to Matters of Faith. I'm Christiana Bakker. One growing phenomenon today is Islamophobia. It is on the rise worldwide, especially since the 9/11 terror attacks. As a result, Muslims in the West experience discrimination at work, in the society and in their private lives. Today we're going to investigate the reasons behind this phenomenon. And our guest, Kyla Amina Bagajati, will show us ways of overcoming Islamophobia. Kyla is the media representative of the Islamic community in Austria, so I'd like to say welcome.
Thank you.
Now, what exactly do you do?
Well, I'm the spokesperson for the Islamic Religious Authority in Austria. In Austria, we are in a very special situation concerning the representation of Islam, because we are an acknowledged religion, acknowledged by state, and this has to do with Austria's history. We have to go back to the times when it was an empire, Austria-Hungarian Empire, and 600,000 Muslims of Bosnia-Herzegovina carried the Austrian-Hungarian citizenship.
How many?
600,000.
Yes, yes.
So from these times, around the beginning of the 20th century, end of 19th century, there was thinking, how can we integrate Muslim people in this empire? And so we have an Islam law dating back to the year 1912, guaranteeing Muslims in our country freedom of religion. It's a law of acknowledgement, and it includes that we can practice religion freely in public, and that the inner autonomy of our religious group is respected by the law and by officials.
Is this a unique case in Europe, or are there other countries?
I think it's quite unique. We have other countries with something similar, but the long history of acknowledgement is something very specific, and this is how it was possible that something like an institutionalized dialogue could come into action.
Yes. So what do you do? How can we imagine your work practically?
Well, practically it has to do with the media, but what I like perhaps even better is dialogue with people. For I'm very convinced that dialogue has to happen face to face as well. So we look for the grassroots level, and we have many projects engaging, for example, with schools, that we invite pupils, classes to mosques to enter dialogue, and a very open dialogue. We are not convinced about the idea just presenting Islam, but being open for questions. And these questions may raise new ideas, may trigger this project of integration.
Oh, that's very good. Now, our topic is Islamophobia and how to overcome it. First of all, how would you define Islamophobia?
Well, it's not that easy. It's quite a new term.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, it goes back to the 90s, when in Great Britain the Runnymede Trust published a now very famous study. Islamophobia is something connected to unfounded hostility towards Islam and those who believe in Islam, the Muslims.
Yes.
And the Runnymede Trust has 8 criteria to find a way of describing how this Islamophobia works.
Yeah.
And it's very much linked to the idea, do people have an open or a closed mindset when thinking about Islam?
Yeah.
So the first criteria is that it's a monolithic block when you come to think about Islam.
Okay.
This is problematic, of course,
Yeah.
if you put all Muslims, whether American or Turkish or Indonesian origin, in one big pot.
Yes.
Monolithic. This is the first thing. The second criteria, it's seen as something separate, something like the other. And this being the other means that people have the prejudice that there are no shared values, nothing in common with Islam, something strange and estranging. And this opens the next problematic issue. It's seen as something inferior, barbaric, sexist, something irrational. And as a reason seen as the enemy, something where it may be morally right to fight against Islam. And next problematic issue, Islam seen as manipulative. So Muslims as bearing a tendency that their religion helps to create ideologic thinking and political attitudes where Islam is instrumentalized.
Okay. Like
And
Islamism,
yes,
as in Islamism.
of course, yes. And then the perspective that Muslims reject any criticism from the West. And all these 6 topics culminating in Islamophobia seen as something natural.
Really?
And this is why I think we really have to do something to open a very open discussion about the term and about how to overcome Islamophobia. And to me, it's very essential that we don't put any blame on people who carry Islamophobic ressentiments.
Yeah.
For we have to make sure it's something natural. We carry, all of us carry a rucksack, so-called rucksack of prejudice, and it may happen. So talk about it, come over it.
Yes, and try to dissolve them through education, and
for example,
because it's the fear of the other, isn't it? It's the fear of the unknown. So what you don't know, you fear. But when you understand what it's all about, suddenly you lose your fear. And hopefully, I want to ask you, how big a role does Islamism play, in the perception of people? Because I keep hearing, they want to overrun us all, they want to expand worldwide, these are the sort of fears that come in. Do you think, is that a problem, this new phenomenon of Islamism, do you think? Political Islam?
I do think, of course, it plays a role, but it can play this role because of our long history where Islam, especially in Europe, was seen as the enemy, the other, and was created as an image to define Europe and its values. We had a Congress of Historians in Germany, the year 2003, where they stated that the picture, the image of Islam is now going back to the kind it was like in the end of the Middle Ages. Islam functioning as something like a projection where you can put in everything you don't want to be. And of course in Europe we face this big issue, how to create an European identity, shared identity, and it's always easier to define how we are not than to say this is what we are like. So Islam is something like a barrier, a frontier to say this is what we don't want to be like.
It's
whether
surprising
it's true or not.
though, because Islam has such a historic roots in Europe. I mean, Islamic thinking and the culture and the religion inspired the Renaissance and the Enlightenment. If we think about Islamic Spain, you know, hundreds of years, Islamic civilization flourished there. And
you are absolutely right, and I think this is where we have to come in, not complaining about our situation, but finding solutions in a positive way of thinking to stress these facts, because people are neglective. If you read up on the identity of Europe, you always find the term, it's a Christian-Jewish tradition. But where's the Muslim tradition? And we have it. If we talk to each other, even using English language or German language, no matter, we have lots of nouns that originate in the Oriental sphere, from alcohol to sugar. These are originally Arabic terms. And we have this long tradition of thinking. The Enlightenment,
as well.
The Renaissance was fostered by Oriental Islamic thinking. We know it as a fact, but we don't know the details. And this is where education should come in, school programs. We have some very good projects, like in Britain, this 1001 inventions. Putting it into the limelight, naming all these great scientists. And I think this is something that works on both sides. Because it's essential for Muslims as well to create their European identity, to find people they can sympathize with and see them as role models, and to find out, oh, these are Muslims, and they took care about being scientific, and they didn't fear any questions. They dared to ask just anything, no barriers because of religion. It's something we need nowadays as well.
In Britain, where I live, there's a great movement of making Muslims, you know, to feel proud and British. You know, British Islam, British Muslims. There are many projects along those lines. Do you have that in Austria as well? Like, we Austrian Muslims, or, you know, being Austrian and Muslim.
Absolutely, and I'm very happy that this vision of Muslims in Europe will say, I'm proud to be Muslim and European as well. And this is normal, is coming up to be more and more normal.
You mentioned the word projection, and how important is, you know, the idea of negative projection, I suppose, you know, to, you know, for Islamophobic sentiments.
I think it may help to understand how it works. First of all, isn't it something very natural that if you have something you don't know about, you ask, what do I know about things that may have something in common, and drive conclusions to the new, to the other thing. It's normal, but sometimes these kinds of comparisons won't work. Let's take this very common statement, oh, you Muslims, you don't have age of enlightenment. You lack it. And there is a big mistake in this kind of thinking, because it doesn't set the historical context of Europe and the Oriental countries in the right light. It's a different history. It may be interesting to compare things, of course, but you have to take in mind, is it reasonable to compare it or not? This is where projection comes in. And it gets more difficult when this projection is meant to get rid about own history. And you can find examples, especially in populist parties, who make sure that very emotional issues that have a strong effect on the own identity are put away into the other.
Right now we're half time, and we have to take a small little break, but we shall be back with this riveting discussion on Islamophobia in Europe and how to overcome it. See you in a moment.
Wow. That's a very interesting video, listening to Christine, and then also Amina, Kyla, explaining, you understand, Islamophobia, and then the way forward on how we can be able to take away, you understand, that fear of Muslim in the Europe, and then to make the people to be comfortable to the point that you can be able to be a European and says that I'm a Muslim, and then also a proud, you understand, European. Okay, that's a very interesting one, and I hope that we all are actually learning from this video. Some of the important point that she raised was that ways in which you can be able to overcome some of this Islamophobia is when you tend to engage people and then have dialogue, you understand, with them. At that point in time, you tend to explain to them what Islam is all about. Explain to them, you understand, because the media tend to give Islam some kind of different narrative when it comes to the religion. So therefore, when we meet them and then you begin to explain to them what Islam, you understand, is all about, that can be able to like help to change a lot of things, people's perception on how they see Islam, which I think that I totally, understand, agree with her about some of those things, understand, and the measures, understand, that has been set in place. I've always says that the best way is, since, you understand, it's actually in the media that people hear about Islam, you could say it's a religion of terror, religion of oppression, religion of violence, and all those things, then you should go to the same media that people are hearing and dispute all those things that they are saying. You see, when you talk about, you understand, the 9/11, what happened, you understand, in US between Osama bin Laden, I think that people will not be able to separate, you understand, that his own, you understand, interest or what he was trying to do in America with Muslim or with Islam as a religion, since that was not be able to separate, you'll not be able to understand the Islamic interest, you understand, in America, and what interest Osama bin Laden actually, understand, stands for, and then that's end up, you understand, affecting everyone, since, you understand, he's a Muslim, and then do you not be able to differentiate those two, because you see, he was causing all these things, you understand, on the life of people, taking lives of innocent, you understand, people, right? And then he says that he do those things, you understand, in the name of what? Islam. And then when they say those things, they say Allahu Akbar. Then because of that, it will make people to tag it with Muslim. The Muslim maybe leaders as of that time, what they could have do was for them to dispute what he's saying, right? That could have been able to like help to reduce some of these things. But then since those things were not done, and then they are not be able to separate, in a sense, the political interest from his own interest or the religious, in a sense, interest, and then therefore they tend to have this hatred, in a sense, against Muslim. And then at that point in time, everyone, as far as you're a Muslim, you suffer it. And then that's why you see at the place of works, you know, everyone, in a sense, feel it, or even here working in the street. Then that's when the women now became, in a sense, victim of it, victim of attack. Why? Because of, since the way you can be able to identify and differentiate other people from the Muslim, and then in terms of the women, is the hijab that they wear and all those things, right? So that's when some of them now became, in a sense, a target. But then thank God, I believe that right now they are trying to do things, in a sense, differently in order to change some of these narrative. A very interesting video, and then we actually have the second segment, so we may not actually, in a sense, conclude on this until we go to the second segment. Then we can be able to like conclude on this very video. I hope that some of you are actually learning from this very video, and then some of the things that Muslims are putting in place to change the narrative of what people perceive or see Muslim to be. So this is the end of my video. If you like my reaction, you should like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any video you want me to react to, don't forget to drop it at the comment section, and I'm going to take it out. So guys, your thought and opinion are all welcome at the comment section, and don't forget to check back at the channel for the second segment, so that we can all get to the same page. So bye bye, and I see you in my next video.